Hey, and welcome to a special Shatter the Vain. I'm Brad Chmielewski, and back again with me is BluBerryz. Welcome. Good to have you here, especially back again to talk more about the VGL.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me. Very excited to be your guest once again. It's very awesome that you work through all of that community guys and devs and from episode to episode. So yeah, I'm this time tuning in actually from San Mateo, live from the new lair, and I'm very excited to share some nice news.
Yeah, we're closer in the same time zone. It's not super late for you or super early for me or something like that. So we're
Exactly.
close together. It's nice. We're both wide awake at the moment.
Right.
So yeah, the winter VGL kicks off here in what, 5 days on January 16th.
Exactly. So the upcoming Saturday will be the first match day for the top 64 teams in each region. We have, as usual, as all of you know, the top 64 teams in North America are going to play in a single elimination best of three bracket, and as well, this goes for Europe.
Okay. And then so 64 is the same that was in the second qualifiers, right? It was 128 in the first autumn qualifiers, right? Just try to keep all my numbers
Exactly.
together.
No, that's good. That's good. You're
Okay.
right there.
So 64 teams, and how was the turnout this year? Did you guys have, like, last time I know we talked, it was like an insane amount of applications and just the number of people that were interested.
Yeah, so this time it's pretty huge that the numbers are again over 500 applications, and we receive a ton of emails where actually teams say or send us an email and say, hey, it's pretty cool that you do that, but we can't enter. Because like since the player base is growing and since the
Right.
interest from the teams is there, to form guilds, to actually go from the guild way to competitive way, to go into this team feature, train, trying to rank up. But of course, the top 64 team, maybe back then it was easy to reach, but now it
Right.
can be more harder. And we were sitting together, VGL and the SMC guys, and we were saying like, I think we need something like either we extend the bracket, but then it's like we do not favor the lower skill teams because they might face a huge opponent in the first round. So the experience
Yeah,
we
that
give them is barely none. So we were thinking, all right, so what options do we actually have to make them trying to get the or lead them towards this competitive play. And yeah, then we came to the idea to found the VGL Amateur Series, which is now actually
okay.
open. The registration is open, and basically there is unlimited plays for actually teams who want to play. So theoretically now we have 512 slots in each
Oh my
region.
gosh, okay.
So this is possible. We can handle up to 1024 by the system,
Okay.
and it is now a system where teams can register. And on the 16th, half an hour before the match day, which is 1 p.m. PST for North America, it's basically parallel to the online streamed matches we are going to kick off,
Okay.
so the times do not change here. And in Europe, it is also 7 p.m. Central European summer time, so nothing here changing as well. Teams have to check in. This is a new feature. So by logging in onto the website and checking in, they actually say, hey, we are here, and the system generates a bracket upon how many teams or who actually does check in. So this way,
Okay.
giving also the opportunity the captains to check mark whether they won or not, we are giving the community a little bit more the freedom to work and to say, hey, we won the match. And if there is just like protest, we just like check the screenshots from from
Right.
from the teams and just to be double sure.
And takes a little bit of load off of you guys that way. Like, if
Exactly.
there's 1,000 teams, like, we can't be checking in on every match. Like, we're gonna trust you guys to make sure this is going and submitting who won and everything.
Exactly. So, and our thought was like, okay, how can we how can we not throw them into the cold water? Like the cold water would be bans draft mode best of three, you know? Like and imagine you're like a new team and you're like, well, let's do this. And then you read the rules and you're like, oh my God, how to do that? I have no idea. Is that like in game or where do we do this? Who has to do the lobby and best of three?
Right.
I don't know how this is going. So we were sitting together and while we were brainstorming the amateur series, we were thinking, all right, so let's limit it to a certain point where we feel this is like good to get it going. So we stopped at actually a new thing, which is best of one. So there is only one match, makes it easy. The upper team in the bracket is always team A, which makes it also pretty easy to host a group on your own. And more than that, we just go for one ban per team. So we do limit it a little bit. You know, we want to get teams, we want to show them the competitive thing, but we don't want to drop them into the cold water, which can, of course, lead to a little bit of confusion to the like very, very new teams in the Vainglory scene.
Yeah, because I've been in some matches even with the draft and bans. Like people are like, "Well, wait, what are the rules again?" And like, "Oh, hold on, I got to check the website." And yeah, if you're a new player to that scene at all, you're like, it could feel overwhelming. And then you're like, "What did I sign up for? I'm done. I'm not playing this." You know,
Exactly. Yeah. So this is that was actually the reason why, why we're going for this system. And then, of course, you would ask yourself, okay, so amateur series going parallel to the like official qualifier. So where is this amateur series ending? So this is actually the key point. So theoretically, imagine you're a new team. You maybe like come from another like MOBA. You're like high experience, but you do not have a certain skill tier. So it can happen that you go like from zero to hero. And our philosophy is actually to make Vainglory esports inclusive rather than exclusive. So we don't want to zone out the teams and then say, well, you can't make it, maybe like next season. We want to say, or we want to offer them actually a way where they can still go to the live championships at the end of March. And that is possible, no kidding, through the amateur series. So what happens? Amateur series, we're going to play the bracket down to the last 32 teams. So once you reached, like after the round of 64, the most important round is the round of 64, we are going actually to reach the round of 32, and then you made it. So once you made it into the round of 32, you successfully qualified then for the second qualifier.
Oh wow! Okay.
And you are going to face off the lower seeded 32 teams from the second qualifier, where also are the top 64 teams. So this is a little bit interesting. It sounds a little bit complicated, but
so what happens to the top teams of the first 64? Do they still are they in their own thing or
so it is basically a pre-round. So the top 60 imagine we have the second qualifier. We have again top 64 teams, but of course there is seed 1 to 64. And the seed number from 32 to 64 is going to play against the top 32 teams from the amateur series in a pre-day. And then at the end, we're going to start the second qualifier with the main bracket, the 64 bracket, but hopefully with some amateur teams.
So these top 32 teams from the amateur series, how do they now, they have the pre-qualifier or that pre-game before the second qualifiers. How do they get into the second qualifiers?
Exactly. So this is the most important question of all. And we have the second qualifier again with the top 64 teams by ELO and past event performance. So we think that, of course, like the top teams, they will, of course, reapply. But we have seen back then teams who were performing pretty well and they collected points, but they did not reapply. So we're opening again the application for the second qualifier, and then same process. We have team 1 to 64. So the top 64 teams from each region, and here comes now where the amateur series is going in. So 32
Right.
teams from the amateur series, who they are going to face. And we were like, okay, so we have seed 1 to 64 in the second qualifier, and let them just play against the lower bracket, which is team 32 to 64. So
Okay.
they are facing in a 32 versus 32, basically in a pre-match day, facing off the guys from the second qualifier. So this is the
Right.
most important match day for the amateur, because this is the chance where they can actually make their way into the second qualifier. If they win, they are in the round of 64 of the second qualifier. So they can kick out
Okay.
basically a team who qualified officially, and they get the message, you qualified for the second qualifier, but you
But
have to play,
okay.
but you have to face, first of all, one of the best 32 from the amateur series to actually make it.
Okay. Yeah, I think that was what I was like trying to make clear. That seemed like, damn, that's a that has to be like a blow to some of those teams that like, oh, if you happen to be 32, like you just made that cutoff and
Yeah.
then you don't make it. Whew.
Yeah, so
That's
we hope
that
actually to see some teams who can make it, and
yeah.
therefore we hope to open the door to the so-called unreachable top 64 of each region, and we will see if this system is going to work out. We will of course there rely as always heavily based on community feedback. There were maybe like 10 options how to do this. It sounded a little bit complicated, but once you understood it, it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
And we will see how this is going.
And yeah, I feel like people love that underdog story. So if they can
Yeah,
follow or find out about that amateur team that's doing really well and like is now made it into the second qualifier, and then like I don't know, the community will get behind them and be like, yeah, I want to see such and such go to the top. Let's do it, guys. This is our team, the people's
exactly.
team.
Yeah, right. And so the amateur series is something which is going parallel, as already said, with the first qualifier. It is a non-streamed event. Of course, players who are participating, they can stream. Of course, it would be great if they reach out to us and say, hey, we are playing in the amateur series. We want to stream. So we can
Okay.
feature this, we can push this on our website and on Twitter and say, hey, there is an amateur series game going on. It looks pretty interesting. And what is also nice, we got a lot of emails like, hey, we saw the application is already closed, so what can we do? And now the amateur series is still open, and it will be open, I think, until Friday. So basically, until the match day, you can still register. So it offers a way to be like to be a very very spontaneous thing, or for the undecided teams who do not know if they can get their members together, and all
Right.
that kind of stuff. So for now, I think we announced that 3 days ago, and we already have over 120 teams registered, and I
Oh
think that's
wow.
pretty nice to see.
Yeah, and that's so that's happening. You have the amateur scene in EU and NA, right? It's
Exactly.
both they're separate and they play the
Yes.
same qualifier. So then the points that they earn, they could have enough points to go to the autumn live or the winter live finals, right?
Exactly. So
Potentially.
yeah, it depends, of course, all on the second qualifier, where our point system is more shifted towards the second qualifier again, as in the past season. So if teams are playing in the first qualifier, they get points, but if they play in the second qualifier again, the points for the same outcome are worth more.
Okay.
So that way, we want to give the amateurs a chance to actually reach the live championships at the end of March.
That's awesome. Like I'm really looking forward to these. Like I love watching all these games, and like I just had a Tasty Bacon on episode, and we did a little interview, so I'm looking forward to having
Nice.
him back.
Yeah, I mean, everyone loves tasty bacon or action bacon or whoever
Action Jack,
the whole Twitch chat calls that couple. But I think those
yeah.
guys are doing a phenomenal job.
And yeah, and then one of the things that changed this VGL is you guys allowed guilds or organizations to have three teams in,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Is that I guess why? I'm sure a lot of people want to know.
Exactly. So I totally agree. If people say, "Wow, I don't understand that," and let me get a little bit of insight of what our actually thoughts are. So we of course want to support the growth of new teams, but on the other hand side, we get a lot of emails and messages about teams. They say, "Hey, we got like two top competitive teams, but we are a huge guild and we have maybe a rookie boot camp or our training team
Okay.
and whatsoever." So based on that feedback, we were thinking about, okay, so what can we do? Shall we open another third spot for teams or not? Um, we did it, and we said right from the beginning it is possible that this is a temporary rule. Maybe just for the first
Okay.
qualifier, maybe for the season. We don't know yet. We will see how things are actually going. And then, like, I think ideally it would be if teams could, for example, send in 3 teams max, but that we would kind of limit it, for example, 2 in the top qualifier max, which opens 1 team to go to the amateur series,
Sure. Okay.
stuff like that. So there will be definitely coming in some limitations. We saw some restructuring of teams and guilds due to that rule. So we will actually see how things go, but all I can say is it's pretty unlikely that we still will say 3 teams. There will be the one or the other limitation come in. So it would be, I think, teams on the long run anyway, like on the very, very long run, teams should maybe have only one competitive team, right? For
Okay.
example, like the top 16 teams of North America should be like all different to make it like more, for example, interesting to watch from the esports
Sure.
side. Um,
Yeah, because if Arden or Gankstars come in there and like, oh, we're the top three teams, one,
right,
two, and three, it's like, well, that's great. I don't want to watch Arden versus Arden in the final
right,
or Gankstars versus Gankstars in the finals.
exactly.
Like,
No, right, right. So you're 100% right there. And from this perspective, it is that point. And from the other hand perspective, we don't want to force the natural growth of esport teams or limit it. But at some kind of
okay,
point, I think the one or the other framework is maybe needed to say we think that this might be the best without pushing teams too much. So, for example, like there were different VGL rules since we exist, like 2 teams, 1 team, 3 teams now, and all that kind of stuff. So it is a fast changing esport anyway. It does adapt to certain things, and so we think we should actually listen to the feedback from the community. And while we talk, we actually still receive emails from teams who say, "Hey, this is cool," and we receive emails from teams who say, "Well, we think it's bad," because we think good teams like Gangsters or now Liberation or Von, they send in more and more teams, they acquire more talent and stuff like that. So it is likely that this rule is going to change, maybe even though for the second qualifier, but we will see.
that's all right. Well, yeah, just like it evolves so quickly. It's a 3 month season, so you
Yeah,
guys and you do 2 qualifiers, so it's a lot of games and a lot of little tweaking. Like
it is.
it's fun to see how it evolves and moves forward. Uh, Anything like you guys have planned that's going to be different for this season that people can expect or that you're looking forward to? Like any
So
you are you and John like taking more of a step back again and letting Action Jack and Tasted Bacon kind of
yeah,
take the reins and the shoutcasting and you're behind the scenes,
definitely.
running all that. Okay.
Definitely. So it is very, very nice that we kind of like were able to establish this kind of like pool of talent we actually now have with the guys. Is it Tasty Bacon joined like one of the first casters? Is it Forecourt Jester? Is it Action Jackson, Vedius, Humanist? All those guys. I think
Yeah.
we were pretty lucky with the picks there. They all applied to VGL as casters, and we were reviewing their application and then talking. So I think they really did a good job. They grew into this, and based on that, we can actually now focus to not only concentrate on North America and Europe, but I don't want to reveal too much right now. So
Ooh,
there
okay.
will be some news. There will be some news. We've been working and thinking on that for pretty much a while, but since it is not about quantity, it is more about the quality.
Sure, yeah. Okay.
There is news to come and news to share.
All right. I'm sure a lot of players are fans of the game would love to see some of these other teams that we only get to see in VIPL play
Ex-
and like get to know them a little more. So
exactly.
that'd be fun. All right. All right. Exciting stuff. So everyone get ready. VGL kicks off here on January 16th. These games are exciting. I love watching them, rooting for the teams. They'll be on the Vaingloryleague Twitch channel, right?
Exactly. Yep.
And you can subscribe. You got some fun emotes. Definitely subscribe and support these guys. Support the esports scene and support Vainglory. I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm as well. So guys, sign up still for the amateur series if you missed that. So it is still open for this week, and you can still enter from 3 players minimum up to 6 players maximum. And then theoretically, if you're doing well, make it all the way to the live championships in March.
Yeah, I hope someone takes first place. I want to see it
That
happen.
will be
Someone can
awesome.
do it. Make it
Yeah.
happen. BluBerryz, thanks for joining me and explaining this to myself. Now I know it better, and hopefully everyone else is a little more clear on the amateur series and what's happening with VGL.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me. I know it was like maybe when we posted that news, not that easy to understand, but glad that I can be your guest, having the opportunity to explain it a little bit better. And maybe it's a good start for the amateur series, and giving a couple of more teams the opportunity to get some competitive air and taking their first step into the scene, and then seeing them maybe next time not only in the amateur series but also in the VGL qualifiers.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for listening, and we'll be back soon with another episode. Take care.
Shatter the Vain.